While we don't have a quote from Kurt Cobain about which specific guitar of his was his favorite, we do have a quote about which guitar model was his favorite. In a fall 1991 interview with Guitar World magazine, in response to the interviewer saying, "Speaking of guitars, you seem to prefer low-end models," Kurt said, "I don't favor them, I can afford them. I'm left-handed, and it's not very easy to find reasonably priced, high-quality left-handed guitars. But out of all the guitars in the whole world, the Fender Mustang is my favorite. I've only owned 2 of them." An argument could be made that as Jimi Hendrix is to Stratocasters, Kurt Cobain is to Mustangs. In the late 80s and early 90s, Fender Mustangs were easy to find secondhand and cheap, and this availability made it a favorite in the underground scene. That all changed after Nirvana's groundbreaking music video for Smells Like Teen Spirit came out, turning the entire music industry upside down, and leading to grunge and alternative rock taking over the world and the mainstream. At the forefront of that video is Kurt's 1969 Fender Competition Mustang, an absolutely stunning instrument with its memorable racing stripes and matching headstock. Now, Fender Mustangs were desired and highly sought out again. It went from a cheap beginner's model to a symbol of the alternative rock revolution. You could argue that there's no other artist who has had a bigger impact on the Fender Mustang story than Kurt. In this video, we will be going through the timeline of Kurt Cobain's Mustangs, every single one he played in chronological order. We will be breaking down how Kurt got them, when he used them, notable shows for each, and where these guitars are present day. First up is actually Kurt's first Fender guitar, what I personally refer to as the Bleach Stang. An interesting introduction into Kurt's favorite model as it went through many different forms. In a February 1990 interview, bassist Chris Novoselic gave a detailed account of how Kurt got this guitar. "One time, Kurt and I were walking around the Evergreen State College campus, looking for something, and we heard this band jamming. So we went to these dorm bungalows, and there's this guy playing. 'Oh, you guys are Nirvana?' And we're like, 'Yeah, we are.' Anyway, this guy had all these Kramer guitars around, and there was this left-handed Fender Mustang from the late 60s. Cause Kurt's left-handed, you know, and it was sanded down, so you couldn't see. It didn't say Fender or anything on it, but it was a Mustang. Hey guys, neat guitar. Oh, that thing? Huh, this guy's into Kramers and Charvels. He had all these top-of-the-line Charvels. We're like, well, hey, you want to sell it? He says, I don't know. $50? We talked him down to $20. Then we ran to the bank machine and we ran back and everybody was gone, but the window was open. I thought, let's just rip it off. But no, we knocked on his door. We bought it for $20 and we had a couple of frets. We had a fret job done to it and, God, it was just a beautiful guitar. And what did Kurt do? He just smashed it, like all his guitars. This guitar makes its first appearance on November 23rd, 1988. In its first form, we can see it's exactly as Chris described it, sanded down and with no visible logo on the headstock. It's not hard to guess why the previous owner let it go for so cheap. It was essentially just a shell. No pickguard and no neck pickup. The bridge pickup and control plate, which appears to be partially being held on by duct tape, both came from Kurt's original Phase 3 Univox High Flyer, which had been smashed the previous month on October 30th, 1988. There's an argument to be made that the majority of Bleach was actually maybe recorded with this guitar. The bulk of the album was recorded on December 24th and December 29th through the 31st at Reciprocal Recording in Seattle in 1988. 3 days prior to these sessions, the only guitar Kurt plays on December 21st is this Mustang. And in between the sessions, they played a show on December 28th for the Sub Pop 200 release party, where again, Kurt only plays this Mustang. On January 6th, 1989, this Stang is now in its most memorable form. It's got a pickguard that was made from a vinyl record, the exact record being Where Are the Dead, a religious spoken word sermon given by televangelist Jerry Falwell at the Thomas Road Baptist Church. On April 1st, 1989, we can see that it has now completely changed forms. This is the show where Bleach's cover photo was taken by Kurt's girlfriend, Tracy Mirander. It's been repainted blue and now has a white pickguard. We then get lots of good looks at it 6 days later on April 7th. After April, we see no trace of this Mustang until February 9th, 1990, where it is used and smashed for the final time at the Pine Street Theater in Portland, Oregon. This is the show that is included on the 20th anniversary reissue of Bleach. At the end of that show, the drummer of the opening band, Rawhead Rex, asked Kurt if he could have the destroyed guitar, joking and saying, "I want to make wood toys out of your broken guitar for kids." Kurt thought this was funny and gave him the smaller piece. The larger piece was given to Joe Preston, future member of Earth and the Melvins. Kurt kept the pickup and the hardware to be reused. These two pieces were reunited for the first time 21 years later to be displayed together at the Museum of Pop Culture in Seattle in their amazing Nirvana exhibit. For this guitar's show recommendation, it's an easy pick. The December 28th, 1988 Sub Pop 200 release show. Frankly, it's amazing that we have this early of a Nirvana show in this kind of quality. Next up is a very short-lived 1973 Sunburst Fender Mustang, currently only known to have been used for 3 shows in July of 1989 before being smashed for good. It was right-handed, so Kurt played it upside down. The neck pickup cavity seems to have been left empty, while a Univox High Flyer humbucker was in the bridge position. After this guitar was smashed beyond repair, later that July, Kurt traded it to Boston-based musician Sluggo Cawley for his broken Gibson SG. By this point, the Mustang was in 3 pieces and being held by duct tape. As Sluggo himself put it, in a bit of mock Guitar Hero worship, he asked Kurt to sign the Mustang. Kurt wrote on it, "Yo Sluggo, thanks for the trade. If it's illegal to rock and roll, then throw my ass in jail. Nirvana." He also wrote Vox pickup with an arrow on the pickguard along with 2 flowers. As for the SG Kurt received in the trade, it went on to be repaired, repainted, and used for a handful of shows in early 1990. In 2006, Sluggo sold this broken Mustang for $100,000. At the time, this was the second highest price paid for a piece of Kurt Cobain memorabilia. In 2022, this Mustang hit the auction block again, selling for close to $500,000 via Julian's Auctions. For this guitar show recommendation, there's not many to pick from. Of the very few, there is the July 8th, 1989 show at Club Dreamer in Chicago. There is an excellent, high-quality audience recording of it. We're now going to go over the 3 homemade Bleach-era Mustangs, guitars that were made because of Kurt's destructive guitar habits. As Christ put it in that February 1990 interview, "See, what we're trying to do this time around is like, okay guys, it's fun smashing stuff up, but it's getting kind of expensive. Well, Kurt gets this brainstorm. We'll make our own guitars." So what we did, we ordered 4 necks from Chandler, guitars out in San Francisco, and they wound up being $130 a piece. We went and bought the wood and had the bodies cut out. Then we routed it. We get even more insight from both Kurt and Christ from this August 1993 interview. We even built a bunch of Mustangs at one time. We bought some necks and took some pieces of wood and cut out the bodies and put the necks on. And they were completely out of tune, but we did a pretty good job. We had this little assembly line in the garage where we painted them. Those were all destroyed in one tour. That was like 4 years ago probably, at least. The first up from this disposable batch is this light blue Mustang, currently only known to have been seen on February 14th, 1990, but has become somewhat of a cult favorite among the diehards due to its unique pickguard. It's been nicknamed the JesusStang because of this. This is the actual pickguard that was on Kurt's Mustang. This photo is courtesy of Blag from the band The Dwarves, who caught it after the show. The specs for this guitar are the Chandler neck with the black headstock, hardtail bridge, Mustang control plate, and a mystery black humbucker. Next is this pale pink Mustang, currently only known to have been used on February 16th, 1990 at the fantastic Bogarts show. It was used for the last 3 songs, and then smashed, with the neck popping off and the body being split in half. It's worthy to note that it is super briefly seen on February 12th, but Kurt switches to his Epiphone ET270 before the first song even starts, and uses that for the whole show. We're going to see the same specs as the previous Stang besides the pickguard. Chandler neck with the black headstock, hardtail bridge, Mustang control plate, and a mystery black humbucker. Last is this plain blue Mustang with no pickguard. First used on April 27th, 1990, just to meet its end 3 days later on April 30th, 1990. It was a pretty bare guitar, with continuing the pattern of the Chandler neck with black headstock, hardtail bridge, Mustang control plate, and an unknown black humbucker. This one though was notably seen in the alternate Sub Pop In Bloom music video. We're now in the Nevermind era where there are only 2 Mustangs to cover, but the first one is arguably the Nirvana guitar. Kurt Cobain's 1969 Fender Competition Mustang. Most likely acquired the week of August 11th. It's first seen at the Smells Like Teen Spirit music video shoot on August 17th. Thanks to that music video, this is perhaps the most famous Fender Mustang, and lives in the ranks as one of the most influential guitars in rock music. It was completely stock in both the music video and the few shows it was used at in late 1991. It takes a really hard beating on October 19th, 1991, at the Trees Club in Dallas, Texas, when a frustrated Kurt smashed it into the monitor board. When it resurfaces in mid-1992, it now has Seymour Duncan hot rails, and by the end of the year, it is now in its final form after getting a Godot 2-pneumatic bridge in October. This is how it is at the UTERO sessions in February 1993. It is then seen one more time on April 9th, 1993. It was only used at 9 shows and for 1 music video, but at the time of me recording this video is currently the 3rd most expensive guitar in the world, after it sold for $6.9 million in 2026 via Christie's auctions. The extreme price tag just further cementing its legacy as perhaps being the most influential Kurt Cobain guitar. Throughout his career, Kurt designed 2 custom guitars. You could say that both of them are based off of the Mustang. One probably more so than the other, but for the sake of completion, both will be included in this video. The first one is Kurt's Ferrington. Custom built by Danny Ferrington in 1992. With its very Mustang-like body, you could call it a Mustang on steroids. And you could argue that tonally, this is perhaps the most versatile guitar that we know Kurt to have owned. It had 3 Bartolini pickups, a bridge humbucker, and neck and middle single coils. The humbucker had a coil split. As far as I'm aware, this is the only guitar of Kurt's that had that, and a long pickguard that extended into the control plate area. It was used live only once and literally just for 1 song on June 21st, 1992. In Steve Albini's 2020 AMA on the Nirvana subreddit, he listed off all the guitars Kurt used on In Utero, and his list included a custom Jaguar/Mustang hybrid. This would have to be the Ferrington, as Kurt's second custom guitar was not built until months after the In Utero sessions. It's not known who currently owns the Ferrington, but it was seen at Mopop's Taking Punk to the Masses exhibit when it was being shown in Sao Paulo, Brazil. In October 1992, Nirvana filmed the official music video for In Bloom. In it, Kurt can be seen playing an early 60s blue Fender Mustang. According to Kurt'sEquipment.com, Kurt got this Mustang around the time of the music video shoot in Los Angeles. Nirvana guitar tech Ernie Bailey saw this guitar at Kurt's house and said it was really clean with no body contours and stock hardware. There are 2 color photos from the video shoot which gives us a better idea of its actual color. It was never used live, but can be briefly seen in the Sliver music video. Funny to realize how both versions of the In Blue music video feature a blue Mustang of some sort. First up for the In Utero era is an oddity that there is not much information on. What you are seeing here are pictures of the same make, model, and year Mustang, but not Kurt's actual Mustang, as currently no footage of it has surfaced. According to Kurt'sEquipment.com, Kurt had a 1977 Sunburst Fender Mustang with a black pickguard that was with him at the January 1993 Hollywood Rock Show in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, but ultimately was not used at the show. According to Ernie Bailey, they received this guitar the day they arrived in Rio. He also said it had a baseball bat neck. It got Seymour Duncan hot rails installed after returning home from Brazil, but as far as I'm aware, there is currently no footage or photos of this guitar. In the summer of 1993, Kurt placed an order for 10 left-handed custom shop Fender Mustangs. At the time, Fender USA wasn't equipped to make left-handed necks, so these guitars ended up being built in the Fujigen factory in Japan by custom shop master builder Scott Zimmerman. The first 2 Mustangs from this batch were delivered in July of 1993, one red and one blue. The red one was first used on July 23, 1993, at the Roseland Ballroom in New York. There, Kurt used his shiny and new custom shop MG69 Mustang. Prior to the show, Nirvana guitar tech Ernie Bailey modded it to have a Seymour Duncan JB Jr. and Schaller strap locks. The images of Kurt in his red and black sweater playing a red-on-red Mustang has become iconic, and fans have nicknamed this guitar the Roseland Mustang. But Kurt himself must have not liked the red-on-red look and the JB Jr., as this is the only time this guitar is seen this way. We next see it on the first date of the In Utero tour, October 18th, 1993, and here it is in its final form. White pearloid pickguard, full-sized Seymour Duncan JB, Godo ABR1 2-nomatic bridge, and the tailpiece was flipped and locked down. This guitar had the nickname of Oranj-Stang, as seen here on Kurt's case, and that is how fans refer to this form. It was Kurt's number 2 guitar for the beginning of the In Utero tour, but it got used less and less once another guitar we will be discussing later on entered the picture and became the new number 2. Hands down, this guitar is most known for the February 4th, 1994 Canal Plus TV performance. As far as we are aware, this guitar is currently in the possession of the Cobain estate. The blue MG69 Mustang that was also delivered in July of 1993 would go on to become not only Kurt's number 1 guitar for the In Utero tour, but also his most played Mustang by a long shot, the legendary Skystang I. First seen on the first date of the tour and last seen on the last date of the tour. Pick any in utero tour show and there's like a 90% chance you'll be hearing and seeing Skystang I. The mods done to it before its first show were a white Seymour Duncan JB, a small post Nashville style two-pneumatic bridge, and the tailpiece was flipped and locked down. Its beautiful and radiant red towed pickguard features a very distinctive yellow V-shaped speck between the pickups, which has gone on to become an iconic visual feature in its own right. After Kurt's passing, Courtney Love gifted this guitar to his brother Chad Cobain, who lent it to the Museum of Pop Culture in Seattle for 17 years. It was then auctioned via Julien's Auctions in 2023 and sold for $1.5 million. At the time of its sale, that made it the 8th most expensive guitar in the world. As of 2026, it is now the 16th most expensive guitar in the world. There are many, many great Skystang I shows, but we get the clearest view of it at the mighty Live and Loud performance, which for many fans is the defining in utero era show. The second blue MG69 from this 10 Mustang order was delivered in October of 1993 and went on to become Skystang II. It is nearly identical spec-wise to Oranj-Stang, with a black Seymour Duncan JB, ABR1 two-pneumatic bridge, and flipped and locked tailpiece. Although it is visually very similar to its sibling Skystang I, it was used significantly less, and it's safe to assume it was considered a backup on the UTERO tour. Its most notable use being on February 23, 1994 for Nirvana's final TV performance. This guitar is currently believed to be in the possession of the Cobain estate. It is special for having been studied by Fender themselves, along with Oranj-Stang, for them to create the blueprint and basis for the official Kurt Cobain signature Mustang model. We are not done yet with these blue MG69s because there is also a Skystang III. This one was also delivered in October of 1993 along with Skystang II. The exception for this guitar is that as of now in 2026, there is zero footage of any kind of Kurt ever playing this guitar. It was obviously set up for the tour though. It got the same mods Kurt's 3 other in utero Mustangs got, but it seems to have never have seen the stage. It was on display at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for many years before being sold via Julien's Auctions for $340,000. Last but not least, we are now at Kurt's second custom designed guitar, the Fender Jag-Stang. And yes, I know, this was supposed to be a Jaguar/Mustang hybrid, but it essentially came out like a stretched out Mustang, which is why I am including it here. The second guitar Kurt custom designed, this time with Fender and with the original idea of it being a mix of a Fender Jaguar and a Fender Mustang. After a few back and forths with Fender and Kurt making design revisions, the Fender Jag-Stang as we know it was born. Contrary to popular yet very outdated internet lore, Kurt used this guitar a significant amount considering the small window of time it was in his possession. First seen on December 1st, 1993, it went on to become the 3rd most played Stang on the tour, and by the European leg, it had replaced Oranj-Stang as Kurt's number 2. So don't let anybody ever tell you that Kurt barely played it, or worse yet, that was only used for one song at one show. The only Nirvana guitar that truly holds that unique honor is the Ferrington, Kurt's other custom guitar. Kurt's Jag-Stang was made of alder and had a plain white 1-ply 8-hole pickguard, ABR1 two-pneumatic bridge, Fender Texas Special bridge pickup in the neck position, and it was shipped out to Kurt with a custom-made Seymour Duncan 59 humbucker. It went through various humbucker changes on the tour, notably at some point having a Seymour Duncan JB, but at this point in time, we do not know at which point in the tour it had the 59 and when it had the JB. After Kurt's passing, the Jag-Stang was gifted to REM guitarist Peter Buck, who Kurt had long admired. For a period of time, REM would use the Jag-Stang live when performing Let Me In, a song they had written in honor of Kurt. REM performing this song is currently the last the Jag-Stang has been publicly seen. If you want to hear and see Kurt's Jag-Stang in action, in my opinion, it doesn't get any better than February 25th, 1994, where the Jag-Stang was used for the majority of the show. And that is the story of every Mustang that Kurt Cobain is currently known to have played. It's an eclectic group of guitars, ranging all the way from rickety, homemade creations to brand new Fender custom shop guitars. Let me know in the comments which Kurt Cobain Mustang is your favorite and why. Thank you so much for watching, and an extra special shout out to my Patreon supporters. Be sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Nirvana Guitars. Subscribe right here on YouTube for more weekly Nirvana gear videos like this, and I'll see you in the next one.